Here it is, the Serious FPV plane, which is very easy to put together as well. All you need is glue, which is also provided with all the accessories that you will need. Additional thing that you need to order are motor, that's 1400 kV motor. You will need servos, an ESC, and a propeller. Alright, so I'm using APC 7X5 EP pusher propeller. I'm using Emax ES08 servos. Okay, this airplane needs 4 servos. I'm using a Hobbywing Opto Pentium, sorry, it's a Platinum ESC. It's a 40 amp and it can take from 2S to 6S battery loads. We will be flying this Serious airplane with 3S or 4S setup maximum. 3S means 11.1 volt and 4S means 14.8 volt batteries. Okay, so propeller adapter for the motor is actually included, so we don't have to worry about that, how to put the propeller on. Now, choices of radios. Here it is. Which radio do you want to use to fly your FPV 2.4G, 72 megahertz, or long-range UHF system? We will talk about these things in details later. In the beginning, you can start easily without worries with any 6-channel, 72 megahertz or 2.4G Futaba or Spectrum radios. A Futaba like Futaba 10C is the best radio if you want to, move on, but again, Spectrum or other radios will do just fine. Futaba radios alone on 72 megahertz like Futaba 10C give you 2 kilometers solid range. I have tested it. Spectrum will give you 1 kilometer range easily without any worries. So once again, there are 2.4G radios with more range. Choice of the radios, we will talk about it later in the proper radio section. So now let us start putting this FPV plane together and then we will move on from there. Alright, so this is your FPV plane. We will start putting this plane together and there will be a whole video section on how I'm preparing it, and there will be a flight section to test how this plane is behaving before we actually put on the FPV stuff. Now let's look at the FPV stuff that you will be needing to start with FPV. Alright, now let's talk about the FPV equipment that you will need. Once again, all the equipment shown in this video guide is available at bevrc.com. Everything under one roof. AliShanMao is 5% discount code. But again, you're free to order your FPV equipment, taking this equipment as a reference from any website you like and according to your pocket. Yes, pocket is more important. Let's talk about the setup on board airplane, things that will go on the airplane, and then we will talk about the things that you will need on the ground, or we can just talk general for everything. Alright, so let's talk about the component quickly. You will need a video camera. I'm using Sony KX181, but you can also use Sony KX121, which is cheaper and does a very good job. You will need video transmitters. I'm using 1.2G, 1.3G, and 5.8G as reference. 1.3G and 1.2G are best because they are less interfered frequencies and they have better range as well. 5.8G is good for those people who are going to use 2.4G radios to control their airplanes, but again, this frequency is very cluttered and easily affected by the obstacles. So before we move on, one thing very important: when you buy your video transmitters, make sure to consult, research and study your country's rules and regulations on what frequencies and what power of those frequencies are you allowed to use for your video transmission. Do not get into trouble. So first research and then buy a suitable video transmitter. Okay, then you will need a video goggle, so like Fat Shark, Dominator, or Flytech all-in-one. You will need an OSD and a patch antenna, alright, for long range of course, but short range you can also use them. And you will need a video receiver as well. Now let's see what goes on the airplane. A camera, video transmitter, OSD goes on the airplane, video goggles, patch antennas, and video receivers, they stay on the ground. Alright, so we will talk about the stuff which is going on the airplane first. Alright, now talking about the OSD, I'm gonna use Nova OSD with RTH functions. It has an autopilot, the infrared sensor, which actually get your airplane automatically flying back to you if something goes wrong. So if you have lost video, you have lost control, or something goes wrong, your plane goes out of range, this OSD will bring your plane automatically back to you. It will fly back to you and circle over your head. You won't lose the airplane. We will see how this function is working. But again, in the beginning, if you don't want to do that, you're just doing short-range FPV, you can go with CE OSD or any small OSD which just does the job, okay? So choice is all yours. We will be taking Nova OSD with RTH functions in the beginning. Now, when you actually order this thing, you see lots of cables and some PCBs like these and cables coming out of these things, many colors, and you wonder, what am I gonna do now? Maybe I wasted my money. Do not worry, we will take you with our simplest formulas here, because this is a beginner's FPV guide, and in no time at all you can put your FPV system together and start enjoying flying FPV flights. So this is it for the FPV equipment. Alright, in the next videos we will talk about some long-range systems, antenna trackers, automatic antenna trackers, and more mumbo jumbo, which is, let's just leave it for the next sessions when you go for, or you're ready for, the long-range flights. In the beginning, we are beginners. I'm considering myself beginners, so I'm taking you to the beginners setup only with this FPV equipment and with the beginners FPV plane. In the next videos, we will be seeing how I'm preparing the airplane, putting things together inside this airplane, and then setting it up for flights. Then we will go fly it and see how it's performing. After seeing the performance, tweaking the airplane for a stable flight, we will put together the FPV system. I will show you how and which wire goes where, and how do you solder it, give you all the details, and how to put this system onto this airplane. And then we will go for the first FPV flights. And of course, I will give you all the safety instructions, and I will also tell you how to do your first flight safely.